dreaded flag, a vengeful sea. Be careful what you say. There's always someone listening. The Dutchman tossed on the sea. I swore and the devil heard me. Now we're doomed to sail the seven seas for eternity. So yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. A sinister grin across his face said, you'll be doomed to this place. The devil heard my oath, shame of my boast. Oh, a ghostly ship from the depths, freedom from fear is the only gift of death. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. If you cast your eyes, you'll join us like those before. We're an omen of the ocean night. When you see the flying Dutchman, it's too late for your soul. To the waters we gave now our breath. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean wind blow.
Entombed for 3,000 years, wrath growing in me. I have lived an eternity, suspended in darkness. Release me. Release me. Wasting in the running. Release me. Release me. Condemned and bound, the sands of time have run out. Curse fills the room, curiously open my tomb. Rising from the cradle of death, my sentence has come to an end. Release me. Release me. Wasting in the running. Release me. Release me. My curse is your curse. Death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands. I feel no remorse. This is the mommy's curse. Release me, release me. Wasting and running. Release me, release me.
All right, folks. Let me move this up a little bit. There's 100 people in here, but it's already 10 minutes, whatever. It's a Wednesday. You never know what's going to happen. We were on last night with the, was it the pre-record? We had the pre-record last night. What did we talk about last night? I can't even remember.
Oh, last night was, I believe her name was Aaliyah, and her story about being isolated in the Canadian wilderness.
Yeah.
She lived out there alone, off the grid,
Mm-hmm.
and she made the mistake of offering tribute to these Bigfoot.
Yep.
And then this other creature came along, which was like this dog man looking abomination.
Yeah, one of the things I think about that too is that I think that this wolf-like entity, this dog man, whatever the hell you want to call it, I think it watched her give those Bigfoot things. And
Yeah.
it probably got the idea from that. I mean, why wouldn't you? You would think that, you know.
Yeah, just come along like, hey,
Oh, God, I wish
I want that too.
I have a gap flare up in my elbow, and it's not feeling too good. It's not a horrible one, but it's definitely there. There's a flare up, and it started yesterday, or well, yeah, I guess it did a couple days ago. It was coming on, and then it hit me yesterday, and now it's today. It hasn't gotten worse from yesterday or the day before, so a lot of times by the second or third day, it's really bad, and it's not. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be a big, drawn out, messed up thing, you know. Wow. But it's hurting. I need something to put my arm on. I don't know if we have anything. I can't think of anything. Sorry, folks. Been battling this crap. So they did an ultrasound on my kidney. I got the results back for that today. Hey, let me turn this off for just a second. Let's see if that'll, I don't know if that'll, it might work. So the ultrasound came back, and my kidney is good. My kidneys are fine. But, you know, they said that I was okay. But I still got another test I got to go through. But I can't do that until my insurance kicks in. Isn't that a kick in the ass?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to wait around, you know. If I want to do that, and which is something I'm going to have to do, I need to do, and then I got to wait until my insurance is. Life has just been kicking the living crap out of me, dude. But it is what it is. One of the things that I like about doing this show, sorry folks, I have to have a pillow here for my freaking jacked up elbow. I'm going to say this, and at the risk of sounding like I'm happy about that, I'm not happy that people go through trials and tribulations, but whenever I start thinking like my life is really hard
Mm-hmm.
and crap is really not going well for me, because right now it really hasn't been going too well for me. I just listen to these people's encounters and I'm like, holy shit. At least I'm, you know, I'm just like, good luck with all that. And I'm kidding, folks. I don't do that. I don't rejoice and then be all like, oh, this is, at least I'm not haunted by that. At least I'm not being stalked by this demonic dogman creature. Do you know how many people have sent me stories now? Have you looked at this? This is crazy. Just in the last 11 in 2 days. Today is Wednesday. Okay, all right, I'm wrong. Today being Wednesday. 11, if this you count today, there's 3 days. 11 stories, all involving demonic dogman. Like, because, and I know what it is. It's not like, oh, more people are seeing demonic dogman. It's because we're talking about it. And but by contrast, think about it, I've only gotten 3 stories that could be construed as, I've had about half a dozen Bigfoot stories and 3 vampiric entity type stories. I say vampiric entities. 2 of them use the exact words as like my vampire encounter. And I think there was one on here that was right up at the top. I could just, let's see if I can find it. Oh, wait, wrong place. But it was just like straight up. They're like, yeah, this is a vampire. And I started digging into it. Now, sometimes people get offended too when I tell them, no, maybe it's not a vampire. Maybe the person checking your groceries out at the store just was really mean. Maybe
No, definitely a vampire.
maybe they're not a vampire. But then they get really mad. They're like, no, this person's a vampire. I don't care what you say. I'm really angry about it. But bunch of stuff here. Let me see. From now on, if you have anything for the Patreon to put the email on there. I'm just going to have to refer you to the giveaways at prtpodcast.com. So if you're owed merchandise from us, for the Patreon, or if you won, just put it. You're going to have to send it to the giveaways at prtpodcast.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you're going to have to go. So all this stuff with the pay, because it fills up my deal here, and I end up with way too much about the So I'm trying to find this there. So anyway, somebody sent me a thing about a vampire. That was today, just today, and that the problem is I get all these stories from people that then they send them to me through Messenger. A lot of people do. And that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But I have to go back. I have to go through there, and then I have to go through all of the emails, and there's just so much. Oh, God, there's so much of it. I can't, there's a lot of it, but I'm not complaining about that. I mean, there's people that are like saying that they don't have enough material, and there seems to be this, I was talking to Lance Hightower. I don't know if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
You should. He's got Monster 911. He's got a great show.
And he was at the conference.
He was at the conference. We're almost even with him when it comes to subs. We're about the same, at levels on our channel, except that he took a while off, and then he came back and then he took off again. A lot more of a hiatus than we did. He was a chiropractor by trade. Mm-hmm. But he really enjoyed doing this. And so I had a great conversation with him. He's such a positive, upbeat guy. And he's a good dude, man. And so we're going to do a collaboration together. So everybody, that's going to be fun, you know. And then today I talked to Rob Yox, and we haven't recorded with Rob, and so we're gonna. And I had to call him today because him and a few of my other friends, they have a lot of information. I'm talking about Rob.
Yeah.
And of course Lance does too, but with this particular situation, I needed some help here. And you'll get into why. We'll get into why. So here's what happened. But before we go any further, let me announce that the Patreon is $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 tier. We were at 7 Clay today because we're letting people come in and get in over here. And I took a small video of it. Go look at it. It's on the YouTube, so you can see we made the deal today. We're going to be able to have that link to our website where you can order merchandise, and it's going to be just like, I think there's like 4 different kinds of hoodies, and you can get them all in shirts, right? And we're just going to start off with like 10 items of each logo, and we're going to see how they sell and see how it goes, and then we're going to move from there. Because I can't deal with the other distributor because they weren't distributing.
Yeah.
We hadn't gotten
it.
Yesterday. I think we got a notification that somebody actually managed to buy something for the first time since September.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like,
it's like, now you finally fixed the store, but it's too little, too late.
Little,
I've
too
been
late.
trying to get you people to do something for months now.
Mm-hmm. And so that's a problem. And so here we are. And so we got the what is it called? We're making 50 of those.
The tumblers.
Tumblers. We're making 50 of them. So it's going to be first come, first serve Patreon. So if you're in the Patreon and you're on the show, Patreon show, which won't be for two weeks from now, 2 weeks from Monday. If you're in the show, you will be first come, first serve. Okay. And then there'll be 10 more left over from after that, because that's all we could get made was 10. It was 50. But we came up with the Patreon a few weeks ago, came up with the newest and latest shirt design for the giveaway. Now, here's what we're going to do. And this is why you should become a member. And this isn't the Patreon. We're talking about the member on here, and get your name in green. Reason being, you're going to be able to do giveaways. Okay. And this is what we decided as a team, as a committee. We all decided, we were all there today at the place, me, Anthony, Nelly, Tony, everybody. We're going to make exclusive merch that's just for the giveaways. Okay. So you won't be able to get these a lot of times, unless we run out of a certain product. We ordered more 3X and 4X shirts. But we're going to be giving away, like we came up with a design with the Patreon. It's a black shirt with gold. The logo is in gold. I mean, like gold, like this gold, like not, it's going to be like
yellow.
Yeah, not like yellow. It's going to look like gold. And so that shirt, the black and gold shirt, is only going to be available through giveaways. You're not going to be able to buy it. You can't get it on the store. And then we have a third and even a fourth logo that we're playing around with, that we're probably going to be introducing. We're going to trademark it before we release it, even, because I don't want anybody to be able to mess around. These other logos are trademarked. And so that's what we're going to do. Thank you for the gift of the donation of the memberships. So anyway, that's what we came up with the Patreon people. We kind of decided that's what we were going to do. I see Slim Jimmy. He said New Orleans Saints goes kinda. And Jimmy, you were there when we decided. I think Alan, I think you were too. But if you're not a Patreon member, become a Patreon member, because it's definitely worth it. Not only with the extra shows you get, right? But get this. There's tell them about the discount we're going to give you.
Yeah, so with the new website, once it gets set up, we're going to be able to give out discount codes. So obviously that's going to go first and foremost to the Patreon members. So and we're thinking of structuring it to where, like, this is just an example, and we're still kicking it around, but for example, like $10 and $20 tier Patreon members, let's say you get a 10% discount code. 30 and 40%, $30 and $40 members, you get 15%, $50 a month Patreon members, you get a 20% discount code. So yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, so your discount code will go all the way up to like 20%, right?
Yeah.
If you're the $40, $50 tier or whatever. And but that's going to be cool. So you will be able to get a discount on your merchandise. Now, being a member of the show, which is where your name is in green, the only thing that's going to do is allow you to win some really cool stuff. And it's not hard to win. All you got to do is be quick. And somebody says, hey, when we tell you, hey, we're doing the giveaway, just your name is in green, start saying that you want some stuff. And we do it every show, just about. Sometimes we don't, but most of the time we do. And we'll do it tonight.
Yeah. And
then you just go over to giveaways at prtpodcast.com, giveaways at prtpodcast.com. And yeah. So that's what we're doing. So, and we have some more shirts that are being made for the 3 and 4 and 5X, or no, 2, 3, and 4X. They're the black with the silver, right? Isn't that what we did?
Mm-hmm.
So we made several of those. So if you're looking for those on the giveaway, that's what you're going to get. Hey Chris, what's going on, man? You haven't been here in a while to pay your dues. I don't think you paid last month, bro. I think you paid 20.
Yeah, we need to get that back pay for those cult dues.
Come on, Kramer. Your Eagles won the Super Bowl, which I'm actually sickened in my soul to say that I'm glad.
Oh yeah, because it wasn't the Chiefs.
Because I was just like, and I didn't have nothing against the Chiefs until they started giving them games.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I was like, hey, cool, the Chiefs are winning. Who cares? I don't care. And then it was like, okay, they're winning, and maybe they shouldn't. And then,
well, the only reason the refs
now they're winning because the refs are giving it to them.
And it's just because that one dude was dating Taylor Swift, and so like by him dating her, it was bringing fans to watch the game,
billions of dollars too.
Yeah, so it's like they have to give it to them because they're raking in money from Taylor Swift being in the stands. So yeah. Thanks, teenage girls. You ruined football for the adults, for the big boys and the big girls.
Don't blame teenage girls.
That's all who listens to Taylor Swift.
No, blame the stupid dudes who kept watching. I stopped watching.
Well, yeah, them too.
Stupid ass hell.
But they acted like teenage girls. So
okay. So what ended up happening with this? We got somebody who reached out to us. Okay, from Mexico City. Well, she doesn't live in Mexico City anymore. Thank goodness. She spent some time teaching down in Argentina. And then she moved to, she's lived a pretty colorful life.
Mm-hmm.
She lived in Argentina and, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the other country. Gosh, talking. It's in Western South America. Far
Chile.
Chile.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You cheated. You looked.
No, I didn't. I was looking at you.
Well, you were looking down. I saw you. You cheated. But anyway,
okay.
Just relax, young man. Please just relax and shut the hell up.
There's like a huge, like chili shaped. Watching it right now. I'm not muted. Like
Could y'all hear him? Because I was trying to mute him.
I set the system up myself. I know that like I have to mute.
The safe word is
each mic individually on the mixer right here.
These arms become Hulk-like from wearing 50. I'm sorry. What were you talking? Because
Yes.
I tried to mute you. I don't know if it worked or not, but I
No, it didn't.
Well, I'm going to mute you again. Here we go. There it is. They said you were muted.
Not me individually.
They just said it was muted. He was muted.
No. if that's the case, then
The truth, though,
both of the mics were muted. Okay, you're trying to say, oh, I muted your mic. No, you muted mine and yours.
okay. So the other day, what happened was
I said this system. This is like a web of like wires and
they
stuff.
want to hear
that I
stories,
set
and
up.
you're just talking. You know how
Well,
you
then
got
don't
on the
say stuff
Scorpion the
that's
other
not
day
true.
about doing that on the way to Lago Vista, and he wouldn't stop, and he kept on blah 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 blah. That's literally what you're doing.
I
right
wasn't
now.
in the car with you on that ride.
Okay.
So,
but
so
you know
no,
what
I
happened
don't
because
remember.
your brother was there.
I don't
and
remember.
You,
no,
you don't remember. No, but you know what happened, right? And you chastised him for it, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's what you're doing right now. For
Okay.
no dang good reason, you were being
right.
argumentative, disruptive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, you're being disruptive and quarrelsome. There's no reason for it.
You don't need help going off on tangents.
Oh
all right,
my God.
let's
Well, then don't help
let's
me.
let's just not pretend.
This guy. Don't help me go on a tangent here. Now we got 300 people. Anthony's World Wide Web of full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
This is paranormal here. It's Cowboy. No, it's the World Wide Web of full of crap. That's what it is. So you know what's so easy to pick these people that you can pick them apart and they get mad. They get mad. Ah! That's what my enemies do too. They get so mad and then they're like, "Yeah, I heard you had a disease and you're ugly." And it's just like, wow, dude, the little playground has gotten full these days.
No, all of them are.
It
freaking
is.
ugly
It
ass
is
people.
absolutely.
There's not one like decent looking person among all of
No,
our
I don't
critics.
even, let's not get into it. Let's please. This is the Aztec deities on a rampage are bad enough. So what ended up happening? We were talking about the other day. What was it? Was it Sunday? Was it Sunday? We were talking about this. We were talking about. It started off with we retold the story of the guy from Canada, and then here's what happened, folks. Now, by the way, you're going to start wanting to go to the Paranormal Roundtable website, and I'll tell you why. Not only will you be able to purchase your amazing merchandise there, but you're going to want to go there because starting sometime in the next, probably by the end of April, maybe May, we're hoping to get it done by the end of spring. We're going to have a newsletter. Right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be a recap. Like every Monday, we're going to have a newsletter that's going to come out, and it's going to recap everything that we talked about and what we did and what we had going on from the week before, starting from Monday to Sunday. And then the following Monday, you'll be able to read, hey, this is what's happening in the world of Paranormal Roundtable. So it's going to be like a blog, like 1,000-word blog. But we're not exactly sure how we're going to do it or what we're going to we're going to have Ann Celine, who is Ken Gerhardt's, I'm going to say wife. They're almost married. They're engaged, so it's going to be his. Her thing. She's going to do it. We talked about it yesterday, but there's a whole lot of stuff we got to do. We got to get done or whatever. When we moved, I found all the pieces to the board game. And so we're back to trying to get that done. I was like, we have to figure, because my wife was just like, we got to find this. We got to find, it was like a treasure hunt involving 2 different residences, the studio, and 3 storage units. So thankfully, we destroyed everything to find these things for her. I'm kidding, folks. That's not what happened. I barely looked. I would come back from like Whataburger and she'd be like, did you look? I'm like, yeah, I looked. I didn't see it.
You just open up the storage unit. There's all this crap. You just sit there and you don't see it immediately. Nope, not in here. Close the door.
Don't
Honey,
even
did
bother
you look?
walking in.
Yeah. I looked. I opened the door and everything. It's not there.
There's so much stuff in there. How could
Yeah.
you even possibly but my wife is very specific because she knows my bullshit. So she'll be like, did you walk in and move stuff around? So I won't lie. I'll be like, what was that? Yes, did you move stuff around? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was in the car when I moved my cup, I was like, this thing was getting moved a lot. I'm just saying. But so you got to go inside and actually move some stuff around so you don't lie. Because my wife's like a human lie detector. She'll be like, you're lying. Like if I try to just a little white lie with her, like she'll know immediately, like, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
Like, what is up with that? She'll know. And Anthony will be like, don't tell her that because she's going to know you're lying. And I'm like, dude, rats, how are we going to do this? And we have to come up with some sort of scheme that always backfires and works worse if you just told the truth. You just told the truth. So over the past 2 days, I've learned to tell the truth more. when it went to her. All right. And I'm joking. That's joking. I've actually learned from being with her over the last several years to not make excuses when you screw something up, especially, you don't want to disappoint the people you love, but just be honest. Be like, look, I didn't look for this shit. I'm sorry. I just didn't do it. But we found the stuff. So now we're going back to try to get that done. That's going to happen. It will happen. Watch. It will happen. Trust me. There's all these people like, nah, you're not going to do this and do that. Keep on saying it's not going to happen, and it'll happen. Because I'm a big believer in manifesting things and making it happen. It'll be fine. It'll happen. So one of the things that we've been looking at is not only are we going to do this blog, which will help you keep track of the shows and things. So when I go, hey, we're referring back to this particular whatever, you can find it much easier. It'll be an easier way. But like tonight, like right now, so I'm going to reference something that happened on Sunday. So we had this woman that after we retold Clint's story, we talked about this woman named Aaliyah. And Aaliyah, I think it's actually pronounced Aliyah or like Aliyah, but I just say Aaliyah, whatever. Aaliyah told us this story about what had happened to her one winter when she encountered this like freaky dog bear thing, whatever, that walked around on two legs and was a big pain in the ass, basically. And that's just, there's a whole thing there. Go check it out. It was on Sunday's show. What was the episode called? Alone it was like Alone.
Are you talking about
the episode from Sunday?
It
was called something Alone with I don't know, Bigfoot Dogman, because it was about Bigfoot and Dogman. But the first story was
Are you talking about Tuesday?
Sundays. Okay. So the first story was Clint's story that we had told on. I had told on another person's show from years ago, and I recapped that. And he had some stuff that had happened to him since then. He had a few things happen to him, so we just kind of went back and revisited one of the most riveting cases that I've ever dealt with, and it was one that I dealt with early on in my career as YouTubing, podcasting, whatever. Yes, Zebedee, the truck. And so what ended up happening, we did a show, we dropped a show last Tuesday. It was last Tuesday, the Nephilim tomb. Because yesterday we dropped the continuation of
like last week on Tuesday.
What was it called?
Vampire Nephilim Tomb.
Vampire Nephilim. Okay, yes, and it was in the Olmecan area of Mexico. The Olmecs used to. Now you're gonna want to hear all this, okay? The Olmecs predated even the Mayans, and they were an ancient civilization that just kind of faded out into obscurity. And so the Mayans knew that there was something wrong there. So they had placed this this like piece of stone. And then they think at one point they might have had obsidian around it or something. But it was to tell people that, hey, don't go here. Don't come to this area because it's something evil, And so archaeologists had unveiled something. What would be the word? I'm trying to get this here. Unearthed something unholy. And so it was terrible. It was a terrible thing. So the person, her name is Ariana. So Ariana, she messages me and says, hey, I've messaged you before. She goes, but I really want you to read my email. Now, it's not unusual for somebody to say, hey, read my email, you dumb turd. What is wrong? But she was really adamant. So I was like, yeah, I'm ignoring that one. So I just kept scrolling through, and then it popped up again. And then it was annoying. I was like, what is this person's problem, stalker? Okay. I'm married. Good God. I'm joking. She has no designs on me, believe me. Okay, so I'm reading some of the things here. Let me put that on there. Yeah, check out that group. I love that group. Nelly made that group, the Conspiracies group. That's a good one. So go check that one out. So what Ariana told me, she said, look, I finally messaged her back. Now she's living here. She's living in California, unfortunately. Sorry about the earthquakes. But I told her, I said, you know, do you currently reside here in the United States? So yeah. So I ended up calling her, and we talked for a little while. And I told her she's actually in San Diego, and she was teaching up until recently, but she's getting ready to move again, and she's moving to Southern Europe because she got recently married. So congratulations on that. Her father told, and she's a very religious woman, because it was funny when she told me, she says, my earthly father. And I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, okay. She was a devout Catholic. She got married to someone from Greece, and now she is Orthodox. But she said that she made no bones about what happened to her. She said that during the time in 1978, what they called the Templo Mayor. I mean, you can look it up to make sure that I'm saying that correctly. Look up that Templo Mayor. There was an excavation in Mexico City, and they unearthed some stuff, and then it sparked like a whole wave of excavations and archeological whatever. The government in Mexico decided to put money into Templo Mayor, right? Yeah, and
it's the main temple of.
Where is it? Where is that one located at?
Because it's the main temple of Tenochtitlan.
Yeah. But I mean specifically in Mexico City, there's like a spot where it doesn't matter. Well, you can look it up, but while I'm talking about it. But anyway, her father was one of the people who was involved in the dig. Now he wasn't in charge at that time. He was an assistant. And he worked with people, you know, and he also held a position in the city. He worked in like a planning office or something like that. And she told me that she wasn't even 100% sure, because some stuff happened, and then he lost his job, and then he got a job with another place. And by 1980, he was kind of like running his own crew or whatever. So as fate would have it, like she ended up, they moved a couple times, and they couldn't figure out what was causing this phenomenon. Well, her mother wasn't 100% sure, but her dad knew. He knew what he did, because he did something, and God rest his soul, he passed away years ago. But on this dig, he brought some things back. Because when he was a part of the first two crews to be there, and you know, so she thinks that maybe he had taken a couple things, he was planning on selling them, but she
looks like it's right in the middle of Mexico City.
It's right in the middle, right? Yeah. And she said that she called it, you know, the way she described it was the Gollum effect. This is what and I told her, I said, that's an amazing way to say that. And I have thought about it before, but she coined it for me. And she said the Gollum effect. And I said, what do you mean? Like he found something? And she was like, it's mine, my precious, you know. She is she was born 1981. So she is 6 years younger than me. So, you know, I was really surprised at how much knowledge she had about this. And it was partly because of her looking into it, because she had to, but it was also because the interest she had in it. And, you know, she wanted to teach people, you know, and so we hit it off. We agreed on a lot of things. And a lot of times when people are from that region, they have this pride, and they want to say, oh, Aztec pride, you know, Aztlan and all this other stuff. She was not really into that. And I thought that would be something that we would clash about, because I'm not saying that the Spaniards are the good guys. I'm not saying that the Aztecs are the good guys. There was no good. They were bad. Okay. Yeah. The Spaniards were on the road to conquest, and that always leads to just wonderful things. And the Aztecs, though, they were absolutely really, really evil. I'm sorry, Alan, if you believe they erased your culture. They did not erase your culture. And if you want to stick around and not be upset, I'll tell you what really happened.
Well, statistically, too, it's like kind of silly to be like Aztec pride, because Mexico was a huge place.
country.
There was a
and
lot of different tribes there, and chances are, like, if you're of Mexican descent,
You're not Aztec.
you're probably not descended from Aztecs. Like, they were from this one area, and Mexico is a giant place.
Yeah,
Like,
so I can understand how some young people can think that, but that's not really so much the case.
it's like being from New York and thinking you're Comanche or something.
Yeah, I can tell you this. There is a lot that went on. Okay. The Spanish were terrified of one man, Tellez Katzen.
Oh, was that the giant?
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, you're talking about that he was a giant.
Yeah.
Is that who you're referring to, Alan? Is the giant, the one giant? Yeah, he was actually killed during the siege of Tenochtitlan. But they were more afraid of another individual. And this individual went by the name of Tezcatlipoca. Now, Tezcatlipoca was a very, very, very scary individual. After doing a lot of research on this, and Anthony can attest to this, I've been doing a lot of research on this, and I have been for years and years. I don't know if you know who he was, but I'll tell you who he was and why it's important to tonight's encounter and story. He was called the god of the smoky mirror. Okay. Do you know why? Because he carried around a piece of obsidian, and he could use it as a weapon, but he could also use it to read your heart. He could see your beating heart through the mirror, and he knew your wants, your desires, your fears, your anger, your hate, everything. He knew it all. And the problem with him, knowing all these things, was that he was not a good guy. In fact, the myth of the five sons, right? There is this myth, and then we'll get into what Ariana actually went through with this situation. She had to do a lot of research, and she figured out who it was. There is a legend among the Aztecs of the five sons. Now, here is going to get kind of deep, and you're going to have to follow me here, okay? And I was able to, I believe, help this woman and figure out, put the pieces together. And she was right. She told me, she's like, if anybody could help me put this together, it's you. And I want to know what you think of this and what you know about it. And this is what I told her. Tezcatlipoca was literally the first son of the five sons, the myth of the five sons. Now, these are actually different interpretations, right? There was a sun, like the ball of sun up in the sky. That's what we're talking about, right? Right. Okay, but they were also all brothers, which could mean they were also sons, as in S-O-N, sons, right? So Tezcatlipoca was one of those, he was the first son. He was deposed and overthrown by Quetzalcoatl. And Quetzalcoatl was not like Tezcatlipoca. He was not an angry or he wasn't an evil or dark or anything like that. But during the first son, we'll just call him Tezcat. Tezcat wasn't either, because Tezcatlipoca is, I'm getting tired of saying it. Yeah. Tezcat was not, he was a cool dude at first. But when it was his turn to leave and not be in charge, just to put it in layman terms, Quetzalcoatl took over and was the second son. Now, here's what's interesting. Xolotl is actually Quetzalcoatl's twin brother. Yeah. Quetzalcoatl was from the sky. He was like the god of the air. He was the god of the daytime. He was the god of, he was the good guy. He was the one that everybody
He was
loved.
one of the only gods who didn't like human sacrifice, too.
He did not approve of human sacrifice. He wanted life, not death, right? Tezcat was a totally different guy, okay? And yeah, they call him the feathered serpent. Yeah, Quetzalcoatl. But what happened with Tezcat when it was his turn to step down, and each time of the 5 sons, the first son, the people of the earth were devoured by jaguars. Pretty horrible, right?
Yeah.
Pretty unsavory. The second son, I believe it was a hurricane. There was hurricanes and all this stuff that happened. Then there was like this flood. Of course, everybody knows there's a flood. And then there was another one that was like, I don't remember if it was fire. And then there was another son that ended up being like, and that's not what this is all about, but I'm giving you the backstory so you know. The 5th son turns out to be, we're in it right now. Supposedly it's going to happen through earthquakes. The ground is going to open up and we're all going to kind of fall in it, right? But do me a favor, Anthony, and look up the myth of the 5th sons and make sure, because I'm telling you this from memory, right? So I may have missed something. It may be a little bit different, whatever. When Quetzalcoatl took his turn, he actually didn't want to step down either, but he had his own reasons for it. He didn't do it from a place of like, I want to keep ruling you. He did it from a place of, I don't want you to die. So when everyone was destroyed after the second son, which I think was the hurricane, which was caused by Tezcat. Tezcat is also the god of storms and the night.
You want me to read the
which sounds very familiar because Enlil in the Sumerian belief is the one that caused the flood. He's the god of storms and all that other stuff. Yeah, go ahead and read it, Anthony. We put the thing on you.
So it says the first son ruled by Tezcat. This world was inhabited by giants who ate only acorns. It ended when Tezcat's jaguars devoured all the people. The second son, governed by Quetzalcoatl, humans were turned into monkeys. This world was destroyed by hurricanes.
Hurricanes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it goes on to describe the 3rd and 4th son, and this says the 5th son is the current era, ruled by Tonatiuh, the sun god. Aztecs believed the world would end with earthquakes.
Yeah. How did the 3rd and 4th sons end? The 3rd was a flood, right?
The 3rd ended with a rain of fire that destroyed Earth.
The fire. Okay, so the 4th was the flood.
So this era, the 4th said this era concluded with a great flood that transformed all people into fish.
Okay, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there again, there's your flood myth right there. Okay, so it would have been the end of the Dorpa Yuga, right? That would have been, and it coincides with the Hindu Yugas, right? 5 eras, although we're in the 5th era. In the Yugas, there's 4 eras. So it's very similar. It always seems to be very similar, and they always have these same pyramidal shaped things, whatever. I'm going to tell you something, folks. This stuff is real. And it's not just because hundreds of people have told me about their encounters with these beings that they're real. I've talked to people who've been haunted by Anubis, Sobek, you name it. They've been chased by giant black wolves. I mean, people have told me all kinds of crazy stuff. Who am I to say that it didn't happen? I don't know. I've heard of people being attacked by Sekhmet. You know who he is? He's from Egypt, right? So, yeah, these people have these encounters with these beings that look strangely like these gods, if you want to call them that. I call them false gods because that's what they are. But Quetzalcoatl is an interesting figure. What he did, though, after the hurricane, which was caused by Tezcat, destroyed everybody and turned everybody into monkeys. This is interesting. 9 levels up, 9 levels down, right? This is what they believe. Quetzalcoatl went down into the earth, into the underworld. Now, if you read the Mayan myth, there are twins who did this, right? Aztec myth. Now, the Mayans and Aztecs were separated by some distance and some time. But it's funny because the Mayans had the same myth. They had a myth of 2 twins, and I can't remember the names off the top of my head, and it doesn't matter. But one of them ended up dying, going down into the underworld. He was beheaded, and a game was invented in his honor, right? Where they have to hit a rubber ball into a little bitty hole, and the chances of you doing it are nil to none. And if you don't do it, you die. because they all worship death. They're like, "Yay, we get
Well,
to kill you!"
I thought if you won that game, your prize was to be sacrificed.
No, it was like if you didn't. Well, it depended on who you were
Mhm.
and what it was for,
Okay.
because the rules were ever changing. So you would play the game. The losers were automatically killed, but if it was a ceremonial thing where you were trying to be killed, I know
Uh-huh.
that sounds completely stupid,
Yeah.
but I'm not even joking. Go back and read it. So you have this weird story of these twins. Now, Quetzalcoatl was a twin too. His twin was Xolotl. Now, do you know what makes Xolotl so interesting to me? He was a wolf-headed deity.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a werewolf. That's what he looked like.
And it's connected to the underworld, which is similar to Anubis.
Mm-hmm. And in some depictions of Xolotl, and there was this one guy who was a Spaniard who lived among the natives, and he wrote a book, and I keep forgetting to try and get that book and tell you to go read it. But anyway, the cover of the book I know is just like a young Spanish boy, and he's got like a feathers on his head, and it's just like a picture, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, he spent time with these natives, and then there was a monk, a Spanish monk, who befriended them too, and they wrote down a lot of their myths and legends and whatever. And one of the things that we learn from these myths and legends is how they mirror other like cultures. When they talk about the underworld, it's like it's almost identical to what we know from like the Greek and Roman and all these other ancient they all have this same sort of identifying marker, which makes you think that we all had a common ancestor somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading in this one book, and like I said, I can't remember the name of it. There's been about 1,000 of them that I've read, and this boy, he lived with the Aztecs, and he learned about their cultures, their traditions, everything. And one of the things that he learned, Quetzalcoatl was very similar to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually, when everybody sort of voted him down and said no, we want Tezcatlipoca, and we're going to follow him, and him and Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and death. And Quetzalcoatl didn't raise a fuss about it. In some versions of the story, he immolated himself, like he lit himself on fire, and he changed form and took off and became like this giant bird and flew across the sky, going back into the heavens and ascended. And in some legends, some versions of that, he just flew over the ocean to the east to go back to where he came from. And still in other legends, he boarded a ship and he was a white guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a white guy with a white beard. Compared to them, he was light-skinned, and they said that his eyes were like the sky, which means he was blue-eyed, and he boarded a ship that had the mast and everything. It was shaped the way it was shaped. It sounds very much like a European type ship.
Yeah, I was going to say the way they describe it, it's like
very much, yeah. And so he
exactly
got on this European type ship and said, "Okay, fine. You want them? Have them. I'm leaving." But he was also described as a giant. These people were always described as really, really tall. And so when you read about these myths and these legends, and I'm going to tell you something right now, folks. I think it's time. I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and just write about it,
Mm-hmm.
and just so you have it, and just start with just Mesoamerica, making the connections between Mesopotamia, India, China, and then these people, because it's all the same. See, Xolotl was the god of death, like the entryway to the underworld. He was the guy that was like, but there was another one, Zyptotec. He was the jaguar-headed god that, he did what he did, and he was down, and he was the Mayans guy down in the jungle. Now, you remember what we talked about just now, Tezcat. He's the one that destroyed the earth, not really on purpose the first time. It was just his jaguars got loose, and they devoured everybody, right?
Whoops.
But Zyptotec, He was the Mayan god of the underworld. And guess what? He was a jaguar-headed deity.
Mm-hmm.
So you stop and you think about it, and you're like, what if these are all just beings that came ultra-terrestrial, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, whatever? They were giants. They came. The world has been destroyed and reformed over and over and over again. And this was no different, right? And it happened many different ways. Fire, flood, wind. The hurricane represents the wind. And then there's the fire, the earth burns up. And then there's the flood, which is the water. And now the earthquake, which is earth. There's the 4 elements. The first one is the only one that doesn't match up, which is the devouring of everybody by the jaguars. It was like it was an accident. And that is a part of the reason why the myth is told in different ways. Quetzalcoatl took over and said, look, if you're going to allow your pets to eat everybody and kill everything, I think I should be in charge. So there was a battle that took place, a war between Quetzalcoatl and the Tezcatlipoca, right? And so they fought, and Quetzalcoatl defeated him. And the next son, he literally said that, look, I'm going to take care of people. I'm going to remake everybody. I'm going to recreate man. And so what he did was he went into the underworld. He seized the bones, and he seized blood from the bones of the ancients, of the ancestors of the people who had lived before the crazy devouring of everybody by the jaguars, and he reformed mankind, right? And he used the monkeys that mankind had been turned into, which I don't think they were literally turned into monkeys. I think everybody was knocked back down to the Stone Age, right? And they were being preyed upon by something, right? There was this predation. And so he used the blood and the bones of the ancestors, and I think he mixed it with the monkeys, the DNA, and he created people. Sounds very much like the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always 2 brothers. There's always 2 brothers. Enki, and Lil, the 2 brothers in the Anunnaki tradition, the Sumerian text. You have the 2 brothers in the Mayan text. And you have 3 brothers in this situation here. Quetzalcoatl, though, he was from the sky. But his twin, Xolotl, was from the earth, from within the earth.
Yeah.
And they weren't necessarily friends. They all had their shifting alliances and whatever. But Quetzalcoatl was so powerful that with Huitzilopochtli, and then I can't remember the female's name. She was another one that was really evil.
Well, no, Huitzilopochtli, like his sister is the moon goddess, and they're constantly fighting back and forth. And the reason for blood sacrifice of Huitzilopochtli is so he has strength to defeat his sister, the moon. So he'll rise, and she'll go down. Yeah. Otherwise, there's no daylight.
But she ended up killing her own mother, or trying to. That was another one of the side stories. So what ended up happening with all these brothers, sisters, whatever, it was like a familial thing. Once Quetzalcoatl goes through the spirals of the 9 levels of the inner earth, he achieves his goal, and but in so doing, not only was he able to recreate man and put us back on the earth, he was in a drunken stupor from Tezcat. Tezcat tricks him and gives him something to drink because he's thirsty, and it's some sort of potion or drug, and it messes him up. And the god of the smoky mirror is able to trick him, and then he's able to defeat him, and he kicks him out. And Quetzalcoatl, and it was a coup, definitely. Huitzilopochtli was in on it, and they were, and so was Xolotl, and they were like, "Hey, we want to follow this dude, not you," because the number one reason was because Quetzalcoatl treated mankind like they were special. And these other deities were like, they're not. They're just slaves. And we're going to use them as slaves. So goodbye. So Quetzalcoatl says, okay, is this what you want? You win, I leave. And he never returned. But he did promise, he said, someday I will return and I will reestablish, goodness, basically. It's his thing.
Sounds familiar.
And so he leaves. He takes off. Now, every time Jesus is anywhere in the world, and for the 18 years he's missing from the Bible, there are records of this, folks. You don't have them here in the West because it's been suppressed by a particular group of people. And I wish I could come out and tell you what and who and how it's going. And I know, but I can't tell you this on YouTube. But these people have a strong vested interest in keeping you ignorant. So Jesus was 6 years in an ashram until the Brahmins told him, he told him, hey, you're wrong. And they're like, get out of here before we kill you. And he said, hey, I'll leave, but I'm going to return. Same thing he did in Tibet, Kathmandu. Same thing he did in China. Same thing he did in every country he was in until eventually he made his way back to Jerusalem to be executed at the hands of the Pharisees, the Romans, but at the behest of the Pharisees, right? So sounds very familiar, right? It's a very familiar story, right? Now, when you stop and you look at all of these different myths and these different legends, it sounds like, like a bunch of bullcrap. But the very ignorant people of this world will say, "Oh, this has nothing to do with anything," except it's all related. Every single one of these myths, the creation myths, all of it, they're all related. And only the most ignorant fools are going to sit there and say that this is just a mere coincidence that they could all have the same backing, right? I'll say this, though. If you take this character, Tezcatlipoca, he's a very terrifying deity, very terrifying entity. He's ruthless. And I believe he was really, really evil. Now, maybe he didn't start out that way. He started out as, get this, the light bearer. He was the one who was the sun. He set the sun in the sky, and he made sure that everything ran the way it was supposed to. But he had some very rough proclivities. He was not kind at times when he should have been. And that's what led people to gravitate toward Quetzalcoatl, because Quetzalcoatl and all of the people who followed him all across Mesoamerica, he exists, right? He found a large following. Tezcat, not so much. And even when he does what he does to Quetzalcoatl, it's through trickery. He doesn't do it. He can't fight him straight up. He has to trick him, and then he has to build these alliances and make a bunch of lies and all this other stuff to try to build up what he's going to do. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Here's what's interesting. So this girl, Ariana, gets in touch. Hey, girl, she's not a girl. She's a woman, but she gets in touch with me. She says, my dad, when he passed away, we went through his stuff. My mother and father were divorced. We found inside of this, one of these cubed glass cases, what looked to be a jawbone, a human jawbone. But she said it was 4 times the size, and it wasn't complete. It was in 2 pieces,
Yeah.
4 times the size of a human jawbone. The bottom teeth, she didn't have the top. She just had the bottom teeth, and there were fangs like that big on both. And she said this was not an ape. She said this was very human-like, but it was just oversized, and it had these humongous, like you see these teeth right here, like they were humongous, right? And she said that there was also part of what looked like a human finger bone, but it had been mummified. She also found what looked like feathers from some sort of unknown bird, like that she tried to have these looked at, and nobody could figure out what kind of bird this was. But they know that it was 5 times the size of a turkey, of a full-grown male turkey. And from what the people that she had talked to, from the university that she went to in Mexico, they told her that this thing didn't exist now. It has to be something that was extinct, but it was preserved amazingly. When she was a child, okay, she had this situation where the house that they lived in, she believed was haunted. The reason she believed that it was haunted is because she would see these shadows moving around, sometimes crawling around on the floor, crawling around the walls, on the ceiling. And get this, they looked like giant cats. She had the impression that they weren't going to hurt her, but that they were just there observing her. But they could hurt her if they wanted to. So she didn't feel like totally threatened, but her younger sister did. And one day, her younger sister Anna began screaming and crying from the next room. She had an older brother too, but he was deaf. But she said she went into her, so he couldn't hear anything. But she went into the sister's room, and she was bawling her eyes out. And she said that this thing came out of the closet and tried to grab her and pull her into the closet. She said that the closet. This is a 4-year-old, right? She's 3 years older than her sister. She said, my 4-year-old sister told me some terrifying story about how this thing tried to pull her into the closet. And when she looked into the closet, she could see the night sky. She said that whenever she looked into the night sky, she's like, I could see the stars and I could sometimes see the moon in my closet. She's like, and then one day, she's like, I went into the closet. This is what she told her when they got older. They were like 8, 9 years old. I forgot to tell you that part. She says when she was like 8, 9 years old, she tells her, I got pulled into the closet by this big, giant black panther thing. She says giant black panther thing as in like it wasn't a giant black panther. It was a thing. Like it wasn't really just a, well, we know that jaguars can be black. A black panther, really, I think that's really just what it is a jaguar, right? So one of these black panther-like creatures pulls her, and now, of course, Ariana says, I saw them too. She's like, but they never really messed with me. But I always felt like there was something there. There was a reason why they were there. She's like, and then one time, she said that, my sister tells me, that the giant cats won't leave me alone. They keep trying to pull me into the closet. So one time she's laying asleep in the bed with her sister. Her parents were having a lot of problems. Her mother was at that time drinking pretty heavily and taking medication. And of course, her dad was in poor health. His health was failing. And before he passed away, years later, he admitted to her that he had taken things from those digs on the assumption that he was assuming that he could sell them. And he did manage to sell one of these things, which was a piece of a necklace, and it was returned to him. And they demanded their money back, which the people he sold it to were working for the black market, and they were like, give us our money back or something really bad happens to you or your family. So this guy had spent some of this money, so he had to go and figure out a way to get the money back and pay these unsavory characters, or his family was in trouble. So they ended up moving and then moving again. And she remembers a time when these men came into the house and beat the holy crap out of her dad, nearly killing him, breaking his ribs, putting him in the hospital, ransacking the house. And then one day she said that she was with her dad and he stopped at this storage facility, went inside and came back out. And she was like, what's in there? She never knew that this existed. And he's like, oh, I just keep some things, I just keep some things from when I was young. They're like records and things like that. And she was like, okay. She thought that was odd, but she just dismissed it. She's like, I never knew my dad to be a liar, but I knew something was wrong when there's like these men coming around. And she's like, I think my dad eventually paid the money back, what he had spent. And he was eventually let go. He was off the hook. She's like, but for years and years, she's like, wherever we lived, it seemed like we were living in a haunted house. And it was always haunted by the same whatever. She's like, but it wasn't until I was 14 years old, she's like, that I actually saw this big, tall, what she could only describe as demonic looking, native looking entity. And she said, we lived in this house with these 10-foot ceilings. She's like, and this guy had to lower his head to walk through my house. She's like, and I was laying there watching TV. She's like, and I'll never forget it. She goes, I was 14 years old. She goes, and I look up. She's like, and I see this, what looks like a giant shadow crawling down the stairs. And then when it gets to the bottom, it stands up, but it has to lean hunched over. She's like, and it was just the outline of it was a black shadow outline of what looked like a native, like somebody you would see, like an Aztec. And she's like, there's pictures of him all over the place in Mexico City. She's like, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and he's looking at me. She's like, and he blinked. It was like he had these orange eyes. She goes, and then when he opened his mouth, she's like, I saw the blackness slowly peel away from him and start to kind of swirl around him. And I never got to see a good, like what his legs were below the knee during this encounter. She's like, but from like the knees up, I could see it. And he had these bluish green looking skin. And he was adorned with this big like necklace. She said it was so big and gold, it looked like it would put, Mr. T to shame. She's like, and there on the ground were this black, like swirling, whatever the hell it was. She said, I saw these two cats, and one of them was like this black panther-like cat, black. The other one was a spotted jaguar. And she's like, they were humongous. She said they were probably the size of like, a small horse. And this man, she's like, he was bent over at the knees. And eventually he squatted down, and she goes, and he spoke. And when he began to speak to her, she's like, I can't understand a word he's saying. And at that point, I'm listening to this, and I told her, I said, probably because he's speaking Nahuatl. Nahuatl is the language that they spoke. She goes, I know that now. I didn't know that then. And she said that every time he would say the same thing, and I'm not even going to try and repeat the way that they say it because it's way she told me, but it's just too, and I have it right here, but I'm still not going to attempt it. But it was like, okay, I'm going to attempt it. Here we go. It was like, Tina Ake and Tina Akin in Tin Chakal. Okay, that's about as far as I'm going to get. Tina Akin, whatever. The 10-man calls. I don't, let's just not even. I gave it the old college try. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to try to butcher it anymore, and everybody's going to laugh at me. All right? But you know me, I don't care. People can laugh at me all they want. I don't give a crap. It is a very weird language, manifest. Thank you for saying that, because I'm like, Tina knock and nick and whatever. And I don't want to sound like I'm making fun of this or anything like that, But he basically, she said, I translated it years later when I was in college. She had a professor of Mesoamerican studies. That's what she went into school to learn, because she wanted to know what the hell was going on. She didn't even put all the pieces together, and the final pieces may have been put together by me. I don't know. But she said that this thing, it was basically says, I'm here. I want what belongs to me. Years later, I'll say years later, months later, she's still living in this same house. This being appears to her again within a fire. There's a fireplace there, right? And they make this, not fireplace, a fire pit in the back. There's a fire pit, right? So they're in the back and they're talking. And she's like, everybody goes inside. She goes, and the drinking age there is not like it is up here. It's like 18. And she's like, she's sitting there drinking, and she says that this thing appears up out of the fire. I could see its face, its head. She's like, and the head is the size of most of my torso and my head. It takes up the entire. She's like, this thing is gigantic, and it says it again. It's saying this Tina Kakon Token whatever, and I want what's mine. I'm here. She's like, but I didn't know what it was saying. I had no clue. And she's like, and then I started having what I thought was a nervous breakdown. I started freaking out. I had a problem. I passed out in class, and they found out that I was under extreme stress. They prescribed medication for me, it wasn't working. She said that she began to, when she would walk to school, she would go to this spot where there was a private school she went to. There was a spot where they would get picked up by this bus. And she says, and I was walking to school, and one time when I was coming home, it was getting dark, and I saw this large figure following me on all fours. She goes, and I looked back, and I saw it was a shadow, and it was a shadow of a giant black cat. She said, and as I walked faster, it walked faster, and eventually it began to run at me. She's like, until when I looked back, she's like, this thing was no longer, did not look like a spirit at all. It looked like a physical, full on black cat of the size of, like, like she said, a small horse. And it was running full speed. And she goes, and I just had a large lead on it. She's like, and I get to the fence, the gate where my house is. She's like, and I don't even have time to unlock the gate. She goes, I just jumped the fence. I threw my backpack over. She's like, and I run up, and my brother comes out, and he is absolutely just a real, very religious, very, very devout, religious person. In fact, he became a priest. And he catches her, and he's like, asks her, what's wrong? And she tells him, and he looks, and he goes out with holy water, making the sign of the cross, and he rebukes this thing. And it's standing right there at the foot of the steps. She said you had to go up these steps, and then there's like this sort of a landing, then some more steps, and then that's where the house was. And she said that her brother stood there praying for a while. She said it seemed like must have been an hour, but it couldn't have been more than 10 minutes. He turns around and tells her, go back inside and don't be afraid. Later that night, they had a talk with their dad, and the dad's at dinner. When she tells him what happened, he turns white as a ghost. She's like, he was already a pretty light-skinned guy, but he turned very white, pale. Her dad doesn't want to tell her, and he just eats and looks down at his food, doesn't say anything. And the mom, she's just like sitting there, and she's like, do you want to tell us something? And he's like, no, everything's fine. He's like, I don't know what that could be from, and he just said it very, like sheepishly, oh, well, I don't know what's going on with that. Sorry that happened to you. Stop playing with Ouija boards, kiddo. It's weird. That's weird. Cats. And she's like, Dad, her sister said, Dad, the last two places we've lived, we've had problems with these cat-like creatures. She said that night, her and her sister compared notes, and she said, me and my sister could not have been more different. She was very rebellious. She was like, at one point, she was in like this Mexican version of a punk rock band. I didn't realize like they had their own like metal scene and punk rock, everything, just like we do up here. It was all, but she was very much into that. She was in this band, and she was rebellious. She ran away from home at one point and tried to come to the United States. She did all these things. I did everything correctly. My sister did not. And my sister was very rebellious. And she goes, when my mom and dad split up, she goes, at one point, my sister lived with my dad, and I stayed living with my mother. She's like, and that was the only peace that I had from these entities that were coming after me. And it got worse. Now, her sister began to do drugs and began to get really heavily into using hallucinogens and cocaine, or cocaine, as they say in Spanish. And she began to run around with a very bad crowd, and she was drinking a lot, always smoking marijuana. And so she told her sister and her had a talk, at one point right before her mom and dad split up, and they went their separate ways. But they compared notes this night, and she says, the thing that used to grab you and try to take you into the closet, she told her, she says, what did it look like? She says, the giant cat-like creatures or the man? And she's like, the man? She's like, yes. And this is, they weren't like she said, they weren't real close. She said her sister was very atheistic, didn't believe in God, and even went through what she thinks was some sort of like satanic phase. And she said, what do you mean? She says, well, there's this bluish, greenish skinned guy that I would talk to when I would be taken there. And she's like, what do you mean you were taken there? She's like, yeah. She's like, if you would have paid attention, you would have heard me screaming at night. Nobody listened. She's like, nobody could hear me. And of course, their brother, I mean, he couldn't hear because he was deaf. And she's like, yeah, you guys all went into this deep sleep every night, and I was being taken to this other world. And it was literally this giant that ruled this place, and it was always dark. She's like, but there was like a city there. She's like, and there were people, and they were slaving away, and they were walking up and down these ziggurat temples, the way she described them. And she said there was this guy that was always booming voice, screaming and yelling and demanding, and there were these others that were just a little bit smaller or shorter than him, and they had whips, and they were making these people do all these things, like build things, and they were cooking meat that smelled good. She's like, but when you looked at it, it was human people being skewered and cooked. And she said that this guy, whatever, told her, he's like, you're going to keep coming here until you give me what's mine. And he said it in Spanish. He didn't say it in Nahuatl, the way that he talked in this world to, Ariana. So Ariana tells her sister, she's like, well, I'm very sorry that happened to you. I apologize, and I wish that things could have been different, whatever. And she was very angry and just kind of snippy and short with her, and was like, well, it is what it is. And so they didn't talk for a while. Years later, she said, after her sister had cleaned herself up, went to rehab, did all this, whatever, she ended up moving to LA. When she moved to LA, she went to go visit her. And at that time, she was teaching this other person. So she says, I was teaching, and at one point she was living in Fresno. So she moves down, or she goes down to visit her sister, whatever. And they spend about a week together. And when her sister got out of the rehab, she needed a place to stay. So she let her come and stay with her in Fresno. And she said that it was very nerve-wracking because she, unbeknownst to her, had something that she later found was a ring about that big around. Let me see if we can show you that big around. By contrast, here's one of my bigger rings. This thing is like that, right? I can't even put, and that's about as big as I can put because of how big she said it was. So I saw a picture of not of that ring, but of this washer that looked about the size of it, and it's about like that. And so just put it that way. And she said that this thing was made of turquoise, and it had diamonds and gold, and she said this thing must have been invaluable. But the most striking thing about this was that it belonged to someone. Someone or something had to have worn this thing. It had to have been an object that actually belonged to somebody. She said it had all the hallmarks of a ring. She's like, it was too small to be a necklace for anybody. She's like, and maybe it hung on a chain or something, but it was very, it was like a ring. It was very thick. She took it to a jeweler. And this guy in LA tried to give her $30,000 for it on the spot. And she was like, no thanks, no thanks. Later, it was appraised by a guy that she was dating, and he was actually Arabic, and he had it appraised. They literally said this is a one, like this piece was like one and done. They'd never seen anything like it. But the guy was from Jordan, the guy that she was dating, and he told her, he was also a professor's son, and he told her, he says, my dad thinks that this is from the Nephilim. He goes, we've unearthed things like this. And in fact, Petra, right, the Forbidden City. She's like, he told her, he goes, we've found artifacts like this, these emeralds that look like they're the size of your fist. I mean, it's crazy, these rings, right? She said, and he told her, he's like, this ring is probably not even a full fingered ring. It's probably a pinky ring. That's what he thought. And she was like, holy crap. So they offered her $180,000 for this ring. The people that were going to buy it were from Dubai. And at the last minute, she says, no, I don't want to do this. Big mistake that she made. She allowed a curator to come from a museum and take it. And she's never seen it again. She is currently trying to fight it and trying to, do what she can, whatever. But these people that took it from her, they weren't make-believe pretend people. These people did actually work for a museum, and now they're saying that they've lost it. And the most that they're willing to give her is $125,000 for her trouble. This is what she says. But when her father passed away, and she asked him about that ring, he came over there. He flew literally over there to where they were at and tried to take it from them in very poor health, and then told them that they needed to either bury it or throw it in the ocean. Nuts, right? Then he camps out in front of her townhome for the night, right? The next day he says, look, I'm going back home. I'm very ill. He was dying. But he says, I'm going back home, but you need to know something. He goes, I'm going to be gone soon. And he died within 2 weeks. He's like, here is the coordinates to a storage I have. There are some things in there that you're going to need to look at. And she's like, like what? And he tells, they don't have a good relationship with him. He tells her, he says, look, when they were digging, these artifacts, you remember the Temple Mayor and all this stuff? And she says, yes. And he's like, well, we uncovered a lot of things, a lot. He's like, and I believe that one of these beings that was one of the rulers at that time, from way back when, he was a real being. He referred to this being as an ancient alien. This is back before that, everybody was talking about ancient aliens, right? She said that this guy was an ancient alien. They walk through, he gave her the whole, he's like, I've communicated with them. He goes, they walk through portals. It's like, and these beings waged a civil war amongst themselves, and he won. He's like, and this guy kept the finger of one of his siblings, right? And he used it to recreate the world. This is the myth, right? And that ring was the finger that it belonged to. And yes, it was a pinky finger. That's what it was. And it was that big. So by the dimensions that she could estimate with some of her friends at this university that she was teaching at, they estimated that he must have been around 40 feet tall, give or take a couple feet. Now, if you think back and if you listen to the show, the time of the Tetra Yuga, not the Dorpa Yuga or the whatever it's called, the Satya Yuga, the original first level whatever age, because there are 4 cycles and it starts over again and again, right? The beings there were 32 feet tall, right? So you were looking at a time where, and then they were like 20 feet tall, and then we ended up with 10 feet tall, and then now we're down to like these little stunted, midgety looking. That's us. Somebody argued with me the other day. They're like, we're not in the Kali Yuga because people are going to be stunted little midgety things with very short lifespans. And I'm like, hello. I was like, and he's like, we're not stunted little midgety things with short lifespans. I was like, yes, we are. Compared to our ancestors, we're like bugs, dude. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to believe that. They want to believe that we're like the pinnacle of creation. Dude, if there were giants running around that looked like us, but they were just bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter, how do you think we're the damn pinnacle of creation? Are you kidding me? Give me a break, dude. And now there's some idiot out there probably clipping this. Oh, I got you now. You're denying God created us. There's a cockroach and they're eating it. Yeah, that's what they're doing right now because they have the retardation. Because they don't understand things. And this is why people like this person come to me and us and not you. Okay. That being said, this person said, what is your thoughts on this? Now, after this is all said and done, she had all these weird things happen. We could go through them all. One of the things that was very chilling, she came out of her body, and this smoky, weird looking creature grabbed her with like this black smoky hand, was not fully formed, and was holding, and this is where it gets real. This is why I think it was Tezcat, because he held up a smoky obsidian mirror, and she saw herself as this weak, vulnerable, poor, like suffering, like child. And she was already a grown person. And this dude put her into that mirror. She ends up in this alternate world where everything is dark. And he's behind her, and he's asking her once again, give me back what's mine. But this time he's saying it in English. He tells her, no, with no accent. There's no accent. She's like, you know how I have an accent? I said, yeah. She says, there was no accent to this at all. He's like, give me what is mine. And he made a threat too. He says, if you don't give me back what is mine, I can undo all of this. And then she wakes up and she's back in her body. She couldn't breathe, and it felt like something had grabbed her lungs and her throat and squeezed to the point where she felt like she was going to die. Twice she woke up with nosebleeds, and once she had to go to the hospital right there in San Diego, and she couldn't get it to stop, and they couldn't figure out why. She also ended up with a blood clot in one of her lungs, which she didn't understand why, and that had to be taken care of. She was suffering from altitude sickness, which makes no sense when you're living in San Diego. Where the hell were you at? And so whenever we started talking, I told her, I said, I'm going to tell you something, okay? I said, this dude, Tezcatlipoca, was a very bad guy. And I told her, I said, for all intents and purposes, he has a lot of striking similarities to another deity from the Bible. People that call him a deity, we know him as the adversary. She goes, who's Satan? I said, well, sort of. Lucifer. And she's like, how so? I said, because he was the original light bearer. He was dethroned. He was cast down by Quetzalcoatl, who a lot of people have compared to Christ. He was defeated. Now, he was defeated because he was doing things that he wasn't supposed to be doing, because he wasn't doing good. And he carried a mirror around because he was vain. He was very prideful. I said, you also remarked that he was adorned in jewels, right? I was like, he had these feathers all over him that were covered in jewels, right? All the way from his head down his back. He didn't have wings, but they appeared like wings. And I told her, I said, do you not see the correlation there between him and the quote unquote devil of the Bible? I said, it's very obvious to me. And then we started, he says, where do you get this info? Okay, so I'll give you one of these. Let me see if my man came through for me here. Damn it, he didn't. Okay. Anyways, Rob Yox was supposed to send me a book. It was a book that had a lot of information in it. I will try to get that from you. And Rob Yox and me will be recording for a 2 to 3 parter. Hopefully it'll be 2 to 3 parts, and it'll be on Thursday. We're going to record. That doesn't mean it's going to come out Thursday. And we're going to talk about this, and we'll lay it out there. This information, though, is found in a lot of different places. Not the least of which are the apocryphals. There are tons and tons and tons of stories. Now, in the Bible itself, the slimmed down Scofield Bible, you're only going to find a couple. Yes, he was a master musician. That's the least of his ability. What I'm talking about, though, is this dude had the ability to create. Now, if you would take the time to read and learn, look up the peacock god, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because The Yazidi worshipped him, and they believed that the true Most High God had actually forgiven this dude. But he was responsible for the caretaking and the creation of this world. Jesus refers to the God of this world as Satan. I'm of the belief that it was Lucifer that was cast down like lightning. Now, we had a guy on the other night when we did Mondays. We're probably going to start doing like open lines. We had like 10, 12 people on there, open lines.
Yeah.
Check it out on Mondays. And you can jump on and say whatever you want to say, and we'll talk about it. And he was trying to say, no, he was the lightning. Yeah, he was the lightning. He was cast down like lightning, and Jesus beheld it. Right? This dude who did these things, this Aztec deity, I believe really and truly that he was some version of this. That doesn't mean that he is the devil or Lucifer. The problem is that they take all of these deities, the good ones, and they turn them into one guy. They take all of these deities, these bad guys, and they turn them into one guy, because that's much easier to do, and it's a lot harder to fathom than them being so many different types of beings. Think of it as two different camps. You have good guys and bad guys. Just simplify it to yourself. The good guys have multiple good guys, but there really is just one leader. The bad guys are not the same. They have multiple leaders, and every one of them is like, I'm the Most High, I am this, I'm that, because every one of them is the Lord of shit, okay? Every one of them. They think they're the shit, I'm telling you. That's just what they do. And if you ever notice, or if you probably haven't because you haven't been around people from the underworld, I have. They're so arrogant and so full of themselves, and they always want you to prostrate yourself. And I'm like, you're just another one of these dudes. That's just, except you're a different ethnicity. You have 800 different ones, and each one of them thinks they should have their ass kissed, and they should be Lord of the world. This is what evil does, folks. They don't play well together, and they can't stand to see another person or whatever do better than them.
Yep.
So Tez Kakaka here, this guy, whatever you want to call him. Okay, here's one of the books. Okay, this book right here, Voyagers, The Secrets of Amenti. Okay, so if you look that up, it's from Ashiana Dean. That's one of the sources. You can look this up. And there's a bunch of others. Now, some people will tell you about the Urantia book. I don't know. When people read it, there's all kinds of weird stuff that happens there in a lot of these books. This is one that was recommended to me by Rob Yox, and you can read about it. We started getting into the whole, with me and a ufologist researcher. The other day we were talking, and he was saying basically that Lucifer was like the pilot of a ship that got cast into the abyss, and he came out all corrupted. Now, the abyss could also be the birthplace of Lucifer. That could be where he came from. Or he could have just been somewhere that ended up in the abyss and then was spit back out. But either way, when he came back out, he was arrogant, he was prideful, he was demented, and he was evil. And I don't give a crap how many people tell you he's a good guy. He's not. I know a lot of people who've remote viewed this dude, and he is absolutely evil. Absolutely. And he does appear as a child of light, as all of the shaitan, or as the Jews would call them, the shadim, they all do. They appear as children of light. The Quantum says he had a bad attitude. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did, as does this guy. Now, is this guy a shaitan? Absolutely. Is he the main shaitan? Maybe not. Maybe not. But they all do the same thing. They adorn themselves in beautiful attire, and they try to make themselves look like they are, like they're children of light, like they're the good guys. Yet you can sit there and look at them by their works and see what they're doing, that they're not good people or not good beings. And they fight amongst their own, which is another symptom of royalty. They're constantly trying to kill their sisters, brothers, cousins, whatever the hell. They're always fighting with their family. And they always have these quarrels. They froze the stream.
No, stream's fine.
Yeah, and there's another thing. Lucifer is also an androgynous being worshipped as Venus. Yeah, because he was the morning star. Well, guess what? That's what this dude became too. Right?
It was son of the morning.
The son of the morning. Yeah, but Quetzalcoatl was called the morning star.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who was called the morning star?
Jesus.
Jesus. They referred to Quetzalcoatl as the morning star. Lucifer was called what?
Son of the
The
morning.
son of the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with this dude. So you have this deity that may or may not be a Luciferian deity. It could be an avatar of Lucifer. Now, you can also say that they change their shapes too. He can shapeshift and he can become whatever he wants. It's just, what if? What if there are multiple of these deities and they each have their own world? Follow me, folks. This is going to sound really crazy. This is what I told Ariana. I said, listen, you and your sister had these horrible experiences. So did your brother. When you opened up the storage shed, what did you see? And I knew immediately, but this is before she told me what she had found. She says, I found part of a jawbone with these weird teeth. And it was gigantic. And I think that these were the original inhabitants. See, there was another city called Teotihuacan. And the people, the ants that lived in Tenochtitlan, would not go there because Teotihuacan was haunted by the ghosts of what? Take a guess, you know?
No.
Giants. The Aztecs told some of the chroniclers of their ancestors, right, after they had been conquered, that they never went there without at least 30 to 40 people in a group, because if you went with less than that, you wouldn't return. Because there were entities that were there that could shapeshift and still lived amongst the ruins. And these beings in life were known as giants. Right? But in death, they were something much worse. They were like devils. And oftentimes they were depicted as giant dragon-like beings. One of the interesting things, too, that I uncovered about this, and I told Ariana, I said, you remember at one point she talked about this being having scales on his face. And I said that would make sense. And the Aztecs often described some of these entities that roamed the jungles, that would come out of the jungles and try to hurt them and kill them, as having wolf heads with snake-like bodies. Interesting. That is very interesting, because that has been reported in Egypt, right? That has been reported in the jungles of Cambodia. And the Xianjing are often reported as this. There's also a Mesopotamian demon, devil, whatever, archon, named Amun. And you also know that there was an Egyptian god that usurped the other pantheon of gods, including Horus and what was the good guy's name?
Talking about Osiris?
Osiris. He usurped all of them, and he was called Amun-Ra.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there are some people that believe that we're not supposed to say amen or amen because we're making supplication to Amun. And if you look up Amun, you'll see what he looks like. He looks like a werewolf with a snake body. It is a weird looking thing. And Xolotl had the head of a snake. Quetzalcoatl was known as the feathered serpent. Now, not all of these beings were evil or bad. Some of them cared. Some of them were good. But you got to admit, some of these deities, especially the Aztecs, were ruthless, and they had no give a shit about people. cut your heart open. Every year, how did the new year start? They went up, they turned off all the lights. You know how they did that? They snuffed out all the fire. And then the priests marched up to this big mountain on the outskirts of Tenactalan, and they opened up someone's chest and they stuck a fiery torch. And if the flame caught, then they would have a good year. If not, the world could be plunged into darkness. Always with the darkness. And get this, Tezcatlipoca. You know what he did? He was so angry at having been usurped by his brother Quetzalcoatl. You know what he did? He plunged the world into darkness. He went from being the bearer of the light, the son of the morning, right, to being the prince of darkness, carrying around his mirror, his smoky mirror, showing his vain image and showing that he could see your heart, your beating heart. He could see, because your heart, like Ron Moorhead says, it has a brain.
Mm-hmm.
And with that heart, he could tell your thoughts, your wants, your desires, your evil or your good. Which path will you take? And if he could sway you down the path of darkness. When Ariana went into this other world, her sister too, guess what? They were right there at the steps of a ziggurat, and they were witnessing in the dark people being torn out, chest, heart, head, all of that. That's what they saw night after night after night. Can you imagine the torture that would send you to? You're seeing this, and this guy is demanding something of you that you have no clue. You don't even know where to go. Until the sister tells her how she found the ring. When she was in this dark world, as she called it, she said that's when the jaguar-headed being, this dreamlike state she was in, sounds like the city of night, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Except from the Mesoamerican time, took her down this tunnel. The whole time she thought, I'm going to be devoured. Why? Because this thing kept telling her, listen or I'll devour you. Going down this windy little path where it gets more and more narrow, and then they had to crawl, and then it turned into smoke, went through this hole. She followed it. She was very tiny. It was like a quantum thing, right? She's very tiny. She looks up, and there she is in her dad's study, and the dad in the desk. Then she's normal again, and this being, the smoke is swirling around this desk drawer. There's a key. She turns it, opens it, and inside this box is this giant ring. And it says, take this to my Lord. This is what her sister told her. So her job was to return this to this ancient deity, entity, whatever. The unfortunate thing was that it was attached to a finger, a mummified finger. And she was like, it was gross. She tells her sister, what did you do with it? She goes, I don't know. I threw it away. It's like, you could have maybe thrown away this dude's finger, or maybe the finger of Quetzalcoatl. And I was like, does she realize what she's done? She goes, maybe she does now.
It's like, he's dead. He wasn't using it.
It's like, he wasn't using it. The first thing she does is run down to the pawn shop and try to sell it. And get this, as fate would have it, Chum Lee or whichever one of the Rick is like, yeah, I'm gonna give you $100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes to Pawn Stars. Oh, I'm joking. But anyway, she goes down there, and they just look at this gaudy piece of jewelry. They don't even believe it's real. And they're just like, what is that? A lug nut with, So they tell her to basically beat it. And so she thinks it's fake. She doesn't know what it is. And she woke up and had it in her pocket and her jeans. So she wakes up. She wasn't wearing her jeans, but she wakes up. She goes and she puts on her jeans, and she feels this big bulge thing on the right side of her pocket, and she opens it and pulls it out. She's like, this was not a dream. This really happened. This jaguar dude actually took me to this ring. Now, here's the interesting thing. the jaguar-headed being wasn't really a jaguar-headed being. He was wearing a jaguar headdress. So I explained that. I said, did you explain to her that that's a jaguar knight?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the highest orders that you could be.
Yeah. Those and Eagle Knights.
Yeah, those and Eagle Knights. But jaguars, were revered in the culture of the Aztecs and the Mayans. And she's like, she has no clue what this is. She just knows that this is a guy, and the guy's telling her the whole time, I will devour you. Now, his skin is also green. We've talked about this before. Why were these entities skin green? They had a lot of copper in their blood. And they needed gold. There was a reason for that. I'm not going to get into a whole dissertation on why that is. Right? So this is what ended up happening by fate now. But she still has not been paid for the $125,000 that she was supposed to be given. And I'm not going to get into it because there's a whole legal thing going on here that could turn into something. I don't know. But that ring is probably absolutely priceless.
Mm-hmm.
They've found artifacts like this in Petra. And the funny thing is, I was watching a show yesterday about monsters from Antarctica and what they found in the ice and all this other stuff. And there's these people in the comment section. I mean, I don't know if it's real or not, but they're all like, this is stupid because nobody reported this, be the boo the boondabob. Who the hell is going to report that? Like, where are you going to get that information from?
It's not on TV. I didn't see it on
the computer say? It's going to say it on what? It's Newsweek? Is that your source, your great source? Because according to Newsweek, this administration spent $18 million playing golf in the last month. You couldn't spend $18 million playing golf if you tried. And then there's dummies that I thought were smart people, and they're not, because they reported on their Facebook and go, well, actually, the other guy did pretty good, losing $20 trillion. What is wrong with your brain? Shut up. That's what the computer say. That's what the computer say. And then they want to talk about how smart they are and proselytize. Shut up. Just shut up. Because if you're going to post shit like that, I don't want to be your friend. It's pretty damn stupid. I can't. The sad thing is, one of the people that did that, I really love the guy. I think I thought he was smart, but he just keeps posting this ridiculous shit. And you're going like, only a person who's just so daft, you would not, I don't even understand. I can't wrap my mind around it.
Well, the Trump derangement syndrome is just like
it is unbelievable, the stuff that they'll say.
It's like a mind virus.
And they've turned this whole, we're not going to get into the whole Trump, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, and they've turned it into upside down. And there's all these people in the comment section. You go by Oogling it, you're going to find out. One guy says, I'm not going to join Rumble because Oogle said that's not really the place for me. Why would you ask them? Right? I like food. Let me go ask the communists their opinion on it. No, comrade, don't become addicted to food and water. This is a big problem. Many people get shot, try to drink and eat. No good. Probably just try to live off oxygen. It is free, and we let you have because communists, good people. And you're like, oh, okay, thanks. I only weigh 100 pounds now. I'm almost 6'5". I'm 6'4", but maybe try to be shorter. I can help break back. Maybe you shrink. No, I'm good. I'm good. I love CNN and Newsweek, by the way. Yes, good source for protein and stories. Always tell truth. Remember, or maybe die. And you're like, okay, all right. I'm sorry. What was that thinking? Of course, they spent $18 million on golf balls. That's the true story right there. And so I said something really snarky. I said, how do you effing know what the hell they're doing in Antarctica? First of all, I personally believe it's a damn continent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole and, it could just go on and on. if you build something like we have, and you have people that will come to you and they're nice enough and kind enough, and thank you, Ariana, for giving me that. And I'm really sorry. Recently, her mother passed too, very recent. Her father passed away years ago, but and I'm my condolences for that too. Her mother, till the day she died, believed that they were haunted because of the artifacts that were taken, and now I believe it too. So can you imagine that you're going through this hell because your husband, and he did it because he wanted a better life for them, but he was in love with that ring. He wouldn't relinquish it no matter what. And he kept part of the dude's jaw. I don't think the guy gave a shit too much about his jaw. People they're like, oh, they want the bones back. I don't think they do. I think he wants that ring for whatever reason, because it's got all kinds of weird stuff on there. I mean, there's some real Lucky Charms on that thing, and they're always after me, Lucky Charms. I don't know. I made a stupid joke, but you get what I'm saying, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, there's a pillow here, folks, but I got in my elbows. So I'm trying to. 1,000-foot ice wall. I didn't say that. I didn't say that, but Lawrence Morgan did. I don't know.
Yeah, he's the crazy one.
He's crazy.
Crazy conspiracy theorist.
That dude crazy. Well, I tried to talk to Lawrence, and he was talking all kind of crazy stuff. Like he believed in werewolves and stuff.
You mean ice, like from the store, like from the freezer,
like water, like from the toilet.
Yeah. You can't make
Lawrence
all out of ice.
Is probably, you know what though? Lawrence is the only one in green right there right now, so I believe him over everybody else. Black Frog, you're not in green. Mike Hunt, you're not in green. Todd, you're not in green. Andres, you're not in green. No, who? Don't y'all want to win the giveaway tonight? So if you want to win the giveaway, get your name in green, folks. Get it in green. All right. Now. Crazy conspiracy theorists, right? All crazy. There's a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists over here. There's paranormal. I'll tell you, put nah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. David says he's like, I'm green. Kermit the Frog here, and with a public service announcement: get your ass in green, or your ass will not win a prize. So, if you want to win the giveaway tonight, and you want to be entered into the giveaway, get your name in green. Do what you got to do. All right. Jordan says he's green with him. Jamie with the wolf. I want my hat. Jamie, this is what I'm going to do for you, man. As soon as we get that website finished being built, which is real close, we're almost done, and then we are able to connect it to our website, I'm going to send you some money through PayPal, and you can go and buy whatever hat you want that's available. There'll be 4 different kinds, and actually 8 different kinds, 2 different logos, 8 different kinds of hats, right?
Yeah.
And I will pay for you to buy a hat.
Well, once the website's up, you can just probably send them like a 100% discount code or something.
Yeah, and I can just send you a code. If your name is in green, you'll be entered into the drawings, the giveaways. If you join the Patreon, though, you'll get a 5, 10, or a 10, 15, and 20% discount, depending on what tier you're on. Also, don't forget, when these tumblers are ready, they said they would take like 3 weeks, and I told Josh, let's push it. Let's try to get it done in 2 weeks. I know he's a good guy. He'll try. So we can get it done in 2 weeks. So maybe 2 weeks from now, we might have those tumblers ready, and we'll start giving them out on the Patreon show. And you're going to want to see these folks. You're going to want one. Believe me. You're going to want one. So the first 50 Patreon members, and then we'll do another 50. If it's good and more people join the Patreon, we'll do that too. And also the new shirt that the Patreon people voted on and came out, it'll be the black. It'll be the one with the hand, and it's going to be in gold. We got a new logo coming out too. I'm going to try and get this one trademarked. Shout out to Fred Denny because he did an amazing job on that. And Denny, you name it, you let me know what you want, and I'll send it to you when it comes to the merchandise or whatever, and we'll talk again. Because I like that one logo, and I think I'm going to try and trademark that and use it. So we'll talk again. Trust me. I couldn't call you today because I had a lot going on, and I know you were working on Monday, so we'll get back together. We'll reconvene, and don't worry. Now, here's what I told Ariana. She asked me if I really believed that who she was dealing with could have been Lucifer. I said, well, If it wasn't absolutely just himself, itself, then it was a Luciferian type figure. I say Luciferian type figure because what I mean by that is, what is this?
It's like a Halloween theme.
Halloween pillow?
Yeah.
Didn't even know we had
It's a
that.
spooky pillow.
It's a
Scary.
spooky pillow.
Spooky vision.
So, Fred Denny, you don't have to worry about being entered into the drawing. Just let me know what you want, and I'll send you whatever you want. Okay. So here's the thing. We have here at PRT a bunch of different shirts. Now we're missing some 2 and 3 X's. So you may have to be happy with what we can give you, which is like a book or like a hat or something, because we don't until we can get those 2 and 3 X's. Right? We don't have 2 and 3 X's.
Yeah.
So we're out of the 2 and the 3 X's. Sorry about that, guys. But we're going to make it up to you. But another reason to join the Patreon is because it sets the tone for what we're going to do and talk about. What the hell was that?
Was there someone at the door?
You didn't hear that?
No.
I heard a slap on the glass, literally. This freaking studio is so, like, haunted or whatever you want to call it. Leave us alone, Tez Kaka. Sorry you lost your ring, buddy. It's not my problem. You shouldn't have had Guatemala sacrifices so many people. And maybe I wouldn't dislike you so much. I don't know, man. I don't know about you folks. I'm just not into death. Quantum says Josh looking more and more like Burt Reynolds. Reynolds. Do I look like Burt Reynolds?
I mean, I guess it's the mustache.
Do you have any chewing gum? I could do an impersonation of him.
No, I don't have any.
I could pretend.
I like Norm Macdonald's Burt Reynolds. God, it's so hilarious.
Let me tell you something. This Test Kakaka guy. You think he can whoop my ass? I don't think so. Huh? You ever seen me in Smokey and the Bandit? Yeah, that's what I do. I'll smoke his ass. You better watch it. How tall is he? 20 feet? Oh, really? Yeah. I got something for him. That's all I'm saying. Watch yourself. He was such a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds.
I love Norm Macdonald playing him on the SNL skit with Will Ferrell. Was that show with Alex Trebek?
Jeopardy. Oh yeah, Jeopardy.
Yeah, and he has this giant hat on.
And then Sean Connery.
Yeah,
I'll take the rapist for it's therapists. You know? No, I don't know. I could do Barbra Streisand there too. What's his name again? Tiscoco? Tiscaca? What is this? Am I going to win an award for this? What? Then I'm not singing. That's her. That's you. I am a coined lady, like on South Park.
Yeah. I'm a very important person.
I'm a very important person. I made a blue movie. I made one mistake. Seriously, folks, I'm not even joking. Go look it up. I wouldn't tell you to do that normally, but it's. I'm not even joking. And then they cover it up. They're like, "Oh, that wasn't her. It was. Yeah, it was. Shut up."
What's a?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Blue
If you know, you know.
I probably don't want to know if it's concerning her.
Barbara Wawa. That's it. My brother. He loves to talk about, make fun of Barbara Walters. My name is Barbara Wawa. This man here says he's all Bigfoot. You want to tell us what Bigfoot look like? He's all like, no. Robert Smith of The Cure. I'm here with Robert Smith of The Cure. He claims one time he had sleep paralysis. And the succubus tried to suck him. I'm just glad it wasn't you. Gets up and walks. Well, that wasn't very nice, I guess. Oh. And I can't stand Whoopi Goldberg. I just
God.
can't, dude. Oh my
That old
gosh,
Skeksis.
how far she has fallen from. She was funny back in the day, but not. It just she destroyed herself. Just crazy with rage over this, politics. The Predator.
Yeah. I was just gonna say she looks like him.
Looks like the Predator. Well, anyways, folks, so let's do the giveaway, and let me finish the story, and we'll do the giveaway. Right now, while I'm doing the giveaway, tell me if your name is in green. If you've never won, we'll give you first crack. So you can say, "Hey, I haven't won." It says Josh secretly dances to The Cure every night. Heck yeah, man! Of course I do. Yeah, Buffalo Bill, baby. So let's see. Nice Ashley says never won.
You know what? Jason Finch was like saying at the beginning of the show that he hasn't won.
There he is.
So let's pick him.
Nice Ashley. She claims she's nice. We don't know if you're really nice. Ashley, you could be lying.
Yeah, that could be fake news.
Mean as hell. We don't know. Fake news. Not water. What is it? Night? Is that Night Watcher? Is that what that means?
Nacht Watcher.
Nacht Watcher. That's a German.
German for night.
I may have one, but I still think the dog man ate my shirt and never got it. Oh, you may have already. It may be en route to you, dude, because we just did it like a few days ago.
And Dick Richards, your stuff should be on the way if it hasn't gotten there already.
Yeah, and we were surprised that we got a deal on yours to go all the way to Canada. Canada is so. We don't know what it's going to cost from one time to the next. We paid as much as $80. So, Jason Finch, you win. Nice Ashley, you win. Nice Ashley says, "Love y'all long time." Okay, I hope you mean like you've loved us for a long time, like me love you long time. You're not talking about that.
Oh, her name is the Nice Ashley.
Where does it say the Nice Ashley? Oh, the Nice Ashley. Okay.
So she must have an evil twin.
Yeah, she has another Ashley that's evil.
The not so nice Ashley.
The not so nice. At least they have the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say, at least Quetzalcoatl had a different name than Zalotl. It would suck if he's like, I'm the good Quetzalcoatl, and my brother is the bad Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
He helped the other one plunge the world into darkness. Bunch of jerks. So do we have 3 people yet?
Jason Finch, Nice Ashley, and who else?
I don't know.
I think we just picked 2.
Okay, so then if we pick 2, who else do we got? You got Thick Cam. Didn't we pick Thick Cam Girl? Oh no, wait, was that
Thick Anime Girl?
Thick Anime Girl? Or was that a different one?
Who is a dude, by the way?
That's a dude.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I mean,
Dick Richards says pick Thick.
Yeah, but I don't think I think last time we told him that if he comes to the next live stream, then we'll pick him. Because I remember he wasn't a member then, and then he became one on that last live stream.
Let me ask you this, Thick Anime Girl. Why the name? And why do guys pick women, supposedly straight guys, pick women? Because I used to be a gamer, and there's all these dudes on like all these games that I used to play. I used to play Age of Empires, Civilization, all those games, and there would always be these dudes with these female avatars, and you're like, okay, obviously you're a dude.
Oh, that's weird, dude.
Yeah,
I've never done that.
Never did that either.
Never understood it. like in shooting games, their logic is like, oh, it's a smaller target, which is not. The hitboxes are exactly the
Exactly the
same.
same. That is not the case.
I think they're just got a screw
He's
loose.
just got something wrong with them. But they can animate, girl. We're not trying to. He says, but may I? You can win. We're not giving you a hard time for that. We're just saying, why do guys do that in video games? Like,
Yeah.
I've never understood that. There was this one guy who gave me fits when I used to play Age of Empires, and it was an Age of Empires. He was on 2 and 3 when they went back and redid 2
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and it was a pain in the ass. And then I saw him again. I can't remember his name. It was like Captain something, like some kind of weird, but it was a girl. It was a female with the one that was like that, with holding the pistol,
Mm-hmm.
And that dude was always on, always ended up on the other side of me, because he was a second lieutenant too. They
Yeah.
have the rankings. And so they're like, oh, we can't have 2 lieutenants on the same team. And I hated him to play that guy, because he would just spam those Russians, dude. And I hated those OP civs. I was like, dude, you're using OP, man. Come on. And people, if you're not a gamer, you probably don't know what that means, but it's just douche LaRue crap, dude. Japan, France, and Russia definitely were OP on there. I'm trying to read what this guy says. Is it not showing up? That's showing up.
Yeah, I just didn't have it set to scroll across the screen, so I had to fix it.
I think anime guy, girl, whatever says, may I have one of the camel hats? Depends on what your size is, because I don't think we have very many left. So we have to, if somebody's a 3, a 2 or a 3, they can get a hat. And so we have to do that until we can re-up our merchandise. And you got the email address down at the bottom. It says, giveaway winners, please send your name, address, and shirt size to giveaways@prtpodcast.com. So anyways, before we bounce out of here, if you want to give me your thoughts on this, leave it in the comments. Please leave us a like and subscribe, and leave me what you think about this whole thing in the comments section. I mean, be respectful. Don't be like, I think this lady's full of shit. I mean, I think that there was definitely, and it wasn't this, I'll be real honest too. It does not take anything away from the witnesses or witness, but it wasn't, I tried to make it flow as best I could,
Mm-hmm.
and Anthony, I was trying to, when we were talking about it earlier, I had to try to put it together.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was like in pieces, it was like and so, and she, and no offense to her either, but she jumped around quite a bit too. Like, she was telling me, well, this is when I was living in such, and then she went back and was like, oh yeah, and then there was this other thing that happened to me when I was living, there was a lot of weird stuff that took place, and I just tried to get to the main targets of it. One of the really weird things that was really terrifying, that I thought was really terrifying, was this thing's ability when she was in that in between awake and asleep state. It had this gigantic hand, like its hand was humongous, and it could cover. She had taken to going to sleep with the light on, so it would just put its hand up and turn the room completely dark. And with the other hand, she could see, and this is weird, and it speaks to what her sister was saying, was why she believed her sister was under this spiritual affliction too, which, I mean, obviously she was, but when she would go into the closet in that one house, she would see like the cosmos. That's what the hand looked like. Whenever this thing would block out the light, the other hand would go over her face, and she could see into the night sky through his hand, which is interesting because this dude, Tezcatlipoca, was
he was the god of the night sky.
The god of the night sky, yeah. And so I told her, I said, it's all leaning towards this particular guy. She didn't know. Now, here's the funny thing. When we talked, she had come to the conclusion that maybe that's what it was, but she was still thinking it might have been like Quetzalcoatl. And when she started doing like and this is what happened. She started doing research when she was going into Mesoamerican studies. She didn't become a professor of that. She ended up becoming a professor teaching English, of all things. But some of the smartest people I know are English professors. Right? Lyle Blackburn's an English professor. Who would have known? An English major. He became an English major. Very interesting, and that's why he writes so well. But yeah, Evan asked a question. Wolf, did she stop having encounters once the ring was taken? Yes. My apologies if you've already covered this question. Yes, she did. But she did, and I'm going to have Scorpion come on and talk about his last encounter with the City of Night too. Me and him could talk about that, some stuff that we've had happen in our lives. But there are multiple people who've had encounters with the City of Night, and now I've gathered enough to do probably 2 episodes on the City of Night just itself. I've seen people passed over there, that have gone, long gone, passed over, and just talk to them and talk to them and talk to them, and then you wake up and you're like, wow, that person's deceased,
Mm-hmm.
at least in this world. But yeah, some really weird stuff. And I was looking at a map a couple days ago because I was doing some work on, and this is for a future episode. And I was looking at something for Australia because I had gotten Australia from this person that wanted me to do a story about something that happened to them. And so when I was looking at the map, I was like, that is not where Australia was. That is not like you got all of these Asian islands, Malaysia, Micronesia, whatever, all this. And then here's Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what was, no. Australia, when I was young, I promise you, I remember, and I aced geography. I aced it, bro. I mean, I had like a 98. Anthony, you can attest this. I had good grades.
Mm-hmm.
I did very good in school, and I rarely studied. I didn't study. I actually tutored too. So I was an advanced placement, and so I mean, I didn't have to try. And this isn't a bragging thing, but if you say it, some dipshit is going to be like, "Oh, he's talking about himself." Well, yeah, because you got nothing to talk about, do you? But here's the truth: my IQ is extremely high, so I didn't really need to study a whole lot. I could just do it, boom, 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 and I'd get up the next day, and it was done. High school and in college, and I didn't finish college. I did for what? So I could be in debt. Drop out of college, folks. I'm telling you. Let me tell you something. So Australia was the land down under because it was down there and there was nothing around. It was just that. It was just Australia down there. And now there's all this other stuff, and it looks like it's been moved up or something. India was called the subcontinent. Look at India now. It don't look very big at all. It doesn't look like no continent. It don't even look like why would you call that little bitty thing? It's like this, and here's Africa. Africa is like the biggest place in the universe now.
Yeah.
Africa is like 900 times the size of when I was a kid. I blame Toto. We blast the reds down in Africa. Gonna make it bigger than anybody had ever seen before.
Terrible
I mean, like
song.
you see the Africa, you're like, boom, like Africa through the globe, it just hits you in the face. Oh, whoa, I just got hit by Africa. Why is it 800 times the size of when I was a kid? Why is every country in Africa bigger than the United States now? It's unbelievable. And here's Europe. Europe's like this little bitty, and then Africa is like right up against it. When I was a kid, Africa was down here. Europe was right here. Right? It was like the space. Here's Italy. The boot is right here. Here's Sicily over here. There was this water. It was like as far from Cuba as from Florida. I remember the map being like that. Now it's like right up against it. It's touching it almost. And you're like, what in the hell is going on here? And Australia, it's like part of Asia. Why would you even call Australia its own continent? Doesn't even make any sense. Just make it it would just be part of Asia. It doesn't make sense. If you're going to call Australia a continent, why is Greenland not a continent? And why would you call India a subcontinent? I remember when I was a kid, South America, Africa, roughly the same size. And then India was about half the size. I kid you not. I remember India being half the size of Africa. And it was called the subcontinent because it was so huge. You plug that. And so now there's this whole, like these maps, and I'm sitting there going like, this is bull crap. How does this work? Doesn't make any sense. The maps are not, this is not the way, folks. If you believe this bullshit, I don't know what to tell you, because that's not the way it is. It's not the way I remember it. And I did very well in geography. I was always really good with placement of maps, countries, the capitals. I could name, I think at one time I could name 100 capitals, which is just crazy. Like I could name them. And my mother loved when her friends would come over, she'd be like, Mijo, come here. I was like 12 or 13 and she'd be like, tell them, like, name 100 capitals of the countries. Yeah. And I'd name them all. I also remember 3 different capitals of Georgia. And I don't mean the country, Georgia. I mean, there's a country called Georgia, right? In Russia. I don't, it's below Russia, but what I'm talking about is the state of Georgia. Do you know what those are? Augusta, Savannah, and Atlanta. Where the hell do I have three capital memories? Is that even possible? Is there an Augusta, Georgia capital, man? I mean, because I remember it. Me and my brother have memories of the guy that got run over in the Tiananmen Square. Once he got run over, and another time he didn't. I also remember Mandela passing away 3 different times. That's why they call it the Mandela effect. It is so weird. And now there's a guy, like I said before, who reaches out to us and tells us that he is a clone. Okay. And that and I want to laugh and make fun because I hate doing that. I shouldn't do that. I'm sorry for doing that. But he says that he writes code for our world. Now, I got to ask you, and I was going to let the Patreon people decide this, but I got to ask, my arm is hurting. Give me a vote here, folks. Should I retell that story? But if I do retell that story, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have an opinion about whether it's right or wrong. There's a few stories that I've retold that I don't know. I don't know. They're not the ones that made me a believer. There are some that made me a believer. And then there are some that just make me wonder. But would you like to hear this story? Not now. I can't. I mean, it's 2.5 hours in already, but I'll tell it soon. And the guy claims that he's a clone. Yeah. And he's got a whole backstory and everything, I don't know. So if it's something that you'd want to hear in this guy's, tale of woe, I guess you could call it. I kind of jokingly told him, I was like, dude, it sounds like Lemony Snicket. Mm-hmm. Because, he's like, he was born as a clone and then he went through all this hell and he's used as basically slave labor to write code for our world. But I could tell it. I don't know that it's an hour long, but we could put it in with with some other stuff that we got. But I don't know. One of the things that we do too, like I can take a story that's got maybe 30, 40 minutes on it, and I could turn it into 2 hours because we can add a lot of other aspects to it. Now you answer me that. How many people can do that? Not a lot. A lot of people, and they act like they can't do a show. This is something that Hightower was telling me yesterday. I like Hightower. He's a smart guy. He's very cool, very, very calm, demeanored guy. I met him at the conference. He's a wonderful person to talk to. But he said, dude, he goes, there's this idea that people have to have a guest to do a show. You don't need a guest to do a show. You can do your own research. You can retell people's encounters or read them. I mean, doesn't Isdal do that? I think he does, right? He reads people's emails. That's all Steve does. I'm not saying that's all he does. Like that's, what I mean is like, that's what he does. Like that's his thing, but there's this like idea that you have to, have like a guest on every episode, or you have to have like some kind of, if you don't have like a guest, or if you don't have like, somebody there to lead you into the subject, dude, just do the show. And I think if more people would do what we're doing now, I'll say this. Yes, I have some notes there on my phone, but they're just like cliff notes. And Anthony, you know that I don't keep a whole bunch of notes on there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need help, you can refer to notes. You don't have to try to do it all from memory. And there's ways to do it, man. I just think I wish that more people would do it, because you would get more people giving encounters. Because one of the problems in this field is you get the same people giving whatever that, and I tell people this, it's because they don't want to talk about it. A lot of people don't want to come on and talk about their experiences. It's just that here at PRT, we do have a lot of people that are willing to do that because we make them feel comfortable. If you saw the open lines on Monday, we had 12 to 14 people in that queue ready to go. Just, and then somebody would leave, another person would come, and then they could just, when we left that stream, there were 10 people, and I think a couple down in the queue, but there were 10 people on the screen talking. And I finally had to say, hey, I got to go. I got to shut it down. But I would have loved to just keep going. So on Mondays, every other Monday, you'll get the extra hour and a half. You'll do the whatever, what's it called? The Patreon. But I'm going to start doing open lines on Mondays and just letting people who, and a lot of these people are like, look, I emailed you. I tried to tell you. So we're going to do it again this coming Monday. We're going to have an open lines, and we're going to see where it takes us. It was a great show. We did 5 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and just
like
people have a lot of stuff that they wanted to talk about. A lot of people, but not everybody can tell a really good story. And Ariana, there was nothing personal against you. You're a very sweet person, and from what I heard, your husband, he seemed like a really nice guy, very grounded, smart too. You're both professors, smart people. Right. Well, he's retired, but here's the thing, she, by her own admission, she's like, I'm not really a good storyteller. So if she would have come on the show, it would have been kind of broken up, and I would have had to believe, I would have done a lot of talking myself. And then it's like, oh, you're over talking, I guess. The best thing you could do in the situation, and me and Anthony came up with this with Nelly, just do it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
And if more people would just start doing it themselves, and don't cheat. You don't have to add things to it. And try to remember, if you do change things, as words, whatever, just let people know, hey, those are my words, not theirs. Right? Just do that. Be honest about it. Be like, that they didn't say that part, I did. And so I usually remember to do that, but I haven't had anybody come to me ever in the years I've been doing this and tell me, well, you added that to that, I didn't like it. Now, I have had people tell me that I left some key details out. That's been one of the knocks on me, and I'll admit it. That's happened. I've left some stuff out, but I think it'd be better to leave stuff out than to make up stuff and add to it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might not remember something, but at least you're not adding some bullshit. Yeah, and you know what happened? My wife, Morgan Fairchild, she came down in a helicopter. Yeah, we got attacked by some flying sharks. Yeah, that's a ticket. Oh, I'm not doing that. So you might leave something out, but I mean, at least you got the gist of it, right? That's the important thing. So I'd like to see more people doing more of this. I want to see more good YouTubers, podcasters doing more shows like Lance. Like I told Lance point blank, I said, me and Lance talked about Bettina. If you're out there, Bettina, you probably sleep right now, but she's got to work in the mornings. But you need to get your butt back in there and start doing what you do. We talked about that. There are a lot of people who need to be doing what they do. They are. And there are some damn crazy ass people that don't need to be here. They have no idea how crazy they are. I really don't. And so they need to go. But there are a lot of people that need to be doing more of this. And it's so hard when you don't have the time. Like right now, as soon as I'm done here, 11 o'clock, I got to roll and I got to get on the ball and we got to go all the way out to the ranch and do some work. But that's, that's life. But I hope eventually that this can become like a full-time thing for me. I would like to be here every night.
Yeah.
Taking like 1 or 2 nights off a week every now and then, and just because there's so much that needs to be said. If I were to drop, God forbid, I dropped off this earth, there would be so much work unfinished that, and do me a favor, folks. One favor I want to ask, besides the pray, help give me a prayer for this gout to go away. I don't think it's going to be too bad. I think it's, because I want to get back in the gym. It really helps me with my anxiety. But I want you to do this for me. Pray for our enemies. Now, I know that they're not the most likable people, and they are voracious, horrible liars. They do and say some of the most horrible, horrible things. But we are commanded to pray for our enemies. And I'm not praying for my enemies just because God said to pray for them. Jesus told us to do that, and we're supposed to do that. But I'm doing it because, think about it. If just one of them turns their face away from evil, and maybe they already were at one time a good person, and they go back to that, and they turn away from their wrath, you've done a good thing, right? Because the way you need to pray for them, and it's like this: when you go and you pray in the name of Christ, and you ask, and God, just ask God to turn them away from their wicked ways, their evil that they're doing. Forgive them. You got to forgive your enemies. I know it's hard. And not have any hate in your heart. I don't have any hate in my heart for them. Everything that they've done. And folks, it has been a lot. They have done and said some of the most vile, most evil things. They have heaped perdition on themselves. I mean, like karma, like you wouldn't believe. But if you pray and just ask God to shut their mouths and stop them from this sin, because it's for their own good too, because they're piling it on themselves at this point, and ask God to forgive them and to turn them away from their evil and from their wickedness. I've asked God for my own sake, for my own sanity, and for my own health, mental, spiritual, physical, it's all connected, and just say, hey, make them stop. Make them see the error of their ways and make them to fall on their knees and repent for their own souls. Yes, exactly, Andres. To open their hearts to Christ and to turn away from the wickedness that they do. Because I really believe that a lot of these people are demonically obsessed. And this isn't me attacking them and joking. I'm not trying to make you think anything about them. Y'all have already seen what the hell they're doing. I mean, excuse my language, but it's if you haven't seen it, you ain't paying attention. I mean, it's pretty out there. Like the lady today, this woman with purple hair and devil horns that she put on her little profile, said the most horrible things about me and Abe and Nellie. And I just laughed. I put little laugh emojis because honestly, whenever I see them say stuff, I just laugh. And Anthony, you know that.
Yeah.
I don't get all butthurt and go stomping around the house or whatever. All these silly things they say about me. I live in a comic book land or world, whatever. Dude, I don't have time to read comic books. I do not have time for that. I haven't read a comic book in years. Okay? I don't live in no fantasy, fairy tale, whatever you call it, nothing. None of us do. None of us have time for it. We are a very working household. We work. And if I'm not doing this, I'm working. My life sucks in a lot of ways. It just kind of is what it is. It's not a lot of fun. I really don't. This is my fun right here. But if you guys could pray for these people, maybe you could make a difference We could all mass pray for them, that they'll turn away and change from their ways. Because you could go to PRT News and you could see the mental illness, which I think is caused by demonic oppression. I'm not excusing these people. I'm not excusing them. They're going to have to answer for what they've done. But it could be, something that could help all of us. That they either go away from the community or they turn their wrath away and they find something else to do. Sometimes all it takes is just somebody to lose interest and find something else to do.
Yeah.
It never fails, though. Whenever I try to give one of these speeches about being nice, forgiving, whatever, they always attack. And if you've noticed, like, we hit the 40,000, mark, and we were rolling. Our numbers were going up, and then they kind of bottomed off, and now they're kind of whatever. They're still high, but not as good as they were because they mass reported us. So it really aggravates me. And that's another thing that really aggravates me, because we had this kind of, and then there was a good spike, and then we figured something out. There was something that we were doing on our end that was causing other people which I'm not even going to say what it is, unless you're another YouTuber and you want to know and talk to me privately, I'll tell you. Otherwise, I'm not going to say it. But there's something you need to do. Change the settings. And it stops people from going over to other channels and going to your channel, because it was sending people to other channels kind of by accident, because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We figured it out. And so we had to talk to YouTube and Google and all this other stuff. And then everything started going up. And then all of a sudden they spent I guess a couple days just mass reporting us. So our numbers kind of leveled back off, which really sucks. But I promise you, we didn't buy subs. We didn't do any of that. We will never do that. I give you my word. We will never buy any of this fake crap. We don't do it. We will not do it ever. So that's that. And I got so mad and I was so upset about it. We all were. But the only thing you can do with these people is just pray. Pray to God and hope that they actually really do find the true peace, and that God will, stop them from their wickedness. And maybe they'll figure it out and stop and go, hey, we need to stop being this way. This is not the way to be. I'm not going to hold my breath, because every time I've ever appealed, they've just spit on me. But there is a derangement there that is not natural. And at some point, it could lead to something really bad. Not for me, other than them trying to maybe unalive me, but it's going to lead them down a very bad road, like worse than it already has. So let's just pray, hope and pray. The show will be fine. We'll just keep going. But I really, that's what I want more than anything, is just pray for them, because that's all you can do. And like I said, this isn't me sitting up here trying to go, oh, I'm a good, holy guy. Look how good I am. I'm more gooder than they are. No. I've had bad thoughts too about these people. I'm sure they sit around and obsess. And I've thought, man, I just, but then get control of yourself, get a hold of your emotions, and just know that God is there. Like he says, know that I am the Lord. All you can do is pray. There's really nothing else you can do. We've talked to everybody we could possibly talk to and told them, hey, this is what they've done. This is what they're doing. And what's really sad is they're looking at it going, yep, looks like they did. And they're not even like, there's no well, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, there ain't much you can do, until they, they decide to do this or that, Okay. So in the meantime, we're just on our own. Right. But like one of them said, success is the best revenge. So if you're going to be vengeful, which I'm not, be successful, which we are. But pray for them. That's it. That's all we can do. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for everybody that donated. Mostly it was just memberships today, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of gifted memberships.
And thank you for everybody that that joined the members deal. And don't forget, like I said, we got the website. It's going to be ready to go pretty soon. You'll be able to buy the merch. There's a whole lot of stuff coming down the pipe from PRT. And Jake here, it's a good point. He said, Jake says, don't let them derail you, Wolf. They get in your head and steal your attention is what they want. Best you can do is absolutely ignore them. Yeah. Ignore them and pray for them because that's all we can do. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to hope that they turn away from their wicked ways because it is crazy to have that much hate in your heart for anybody or anything. It's like a passion, you know, it's and no one can love or hate with more passion than a madman. Remember that. It's very dangerous. So we hope that everything works out. And what else was there? Tomorrow, what do we got tomorrow? Tomorrow is an off day. We're not doing anything. Tomorrow's Thursday. Friday, we have Robert Kreider on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to get in touch with Robert and try to get my Halloween pillow saved me here. I think this is Nellie's, but so I'm gonna try and get in touch with him, get it going, and get it ready, and have him come on. And Kristen says, "Can we still order merch from your My Printful store?" I don't know. We had somebody that did.
Kristen, why don't you go ahead and be our guinea pig on that? Because we just got an email yesterday saying that someone had successfully placed an order on the Printful store, which I guess means that they fixed it after months and months of trying to reach out to them and telling them, hey, I did what you said to fix it, and it didn't do anything. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that it's up and running and fixed and it's working, but I don't know. So go ahead and try to place an order, and if you don't get like this weird shipping error that says invalid API key like everyone else is getting, then I guess it's working. But it's too little too late for Printful. I mean, if it's up for now, great. Y'all head over there and buy the merch, but we're going to transition to the 7 Clay store.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're probably right, Elastic. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. They don't believe in any of it. It's just a grift. But the bottom line is whether they do believe or they don't believe, because they make fun of it all the time. They do. They use fake accounts, but they're always making fun of this stuff. And they make fun of everybody who believes it. They don't believe it. But that doesn't change the fact we got to pray for them. They are enemies. They are absolutely enemies, and we need to pray for them because they have pitted themselves against us for whatever their reasons. And they, only they know their own true twisted reasons for starting all this crap. So anyways, folks, do what you got to do, man. We love you. Thank you. And we'll see you on Friday and then again on Sunday. Good night.